Hi, welcome to the Sweet Black Girl podcast. And on today's edition, we're talking about gender based violence. And we all know that we are in the period of commemorating the 16 days of activism against gender based violence, as is an international campaign that takes place from November 25th to December 10th. And during this campaign, awareness is being created, and usually people do as much as possible to promote advocacy and mobilize communities to end violence against women and girls. And coincidentally, I've been reading a book which is kind of related to the topic. It's titled It Ends With Us by Colleen Hover. And in this story, Colleen Hover take us through the life of a young woman who's been abused by her husband. And well, it's not a laughing matter. It's a very serious one. I don't know why I'm laughing, but yeah, the irony. Yeah, someone who loves you hurts you. I thought that you think that a person that loves you would not even dare or even think about hurting you. The thing about I love about the story is the fact that Lily, who is the main character in the book, goddess courage and leaves her marriage. And she wasn't alone. She had the support of her friend Alisa, which shockingly is a sister to her partner Rayo. And she also has the support of Alisa's husband Marshall, and then her mother, who I think is a hero in this book, or a superhero. So this what happens when Lily tells her mom about her leaving, her wanting to leave, and her husband Ryo. And truth is, at that moment, I don't think any mother would even support you leaving, especially if you are in Africa and you're in Ghana. No mother will want you to leave a marriage whilst you're pregnant. So Lily has been keeping this from her mom for so long because she's been confused about what to do. So now she's got the courage to tell her mom. And mind you, Lily grew up in an abusive home. Her mom was always abused by her dad most of the time, and was bad. It was terrible. So when she sat her mom down to tell her mom that she was confused in what she wanted to do, her mom made her know that we all have limits and what we are willing to put up with before we break. When she married her father, she knew exactly what her limit was, but slowly, with every incident, she had lost her limit. My limit was pushed a little more and a little more. And the first time Lily's father, hit her mother, he was immediately sorry. He swore it would never happen again. And then the second time he hit her again, and he was even more sorry. And the tenth time it happened, it was more than a hit. She says it was a beating, and every single time she took his she took him back. But the fourth time it was a slap, and when that happened, she felt like it was a relief, or it was a relief for her actually. And said she remembered thinking that at least he didn't beat her this time, and it wasn't so bad. So all that she wanted to put across to Lily was that when someone is abusing you, it never stops. It never ever stop. I see it with Lily's mom. I see it with Lily, and most of the time you think that it's so easy for the person to leave, because imagine the person that you love abusing you, and the person is always sorry. You can see it in their eyes. You can see it in how they express the sorry itself to you. And this is somebody you have feelings for. You wouldn't magically and automatically let their feelings disappear. It doesn't work that way. So it's more than just the person walking out. It's the person mourning the loss of who or what they could have possibly had in future, and who they have imagined their partner to be all this while, and they coming to realize in some point in their life that this is not what they want, and they want more. They want happiness. They don't want to deal with someone else's beatings, or if I should put it that way. But I like how Colleen Hover tells the story. Actually, this story is a real life situation that happened to Colleen Hover's mom, where um her mom was abused by her dad, but at a very small age, where she had her kids, where her kids were still young. She left the marriage because she believed that leaving the marriage would save the relationship with her kids and even herself. So I am really proud of the actions the Atta mom's mom took, because she thinking, and mind you, this is a woman that didn't have any work. She had to work like jobs between jobs to cater for her family, and most of the time we see most women that face are victims of abuse, they usually do not have much doing. They don't have anything going on effectively that would produce money for him. So just want to take us through the notes from the author, and that's the ending of the book. And she advises that this is spoilers, but she says that her earliest memory in life was from the age of 2.5 years old, and her bedroom had a door and was covered by a sheet nailed to the top of the door frame. And she remembers hearing her father yelling. So she peeked out from the other side of the sheet just as her father picked up their television and threw it at her mother, knocking her down. And she divorced him before she turned 3. Every memory beyond that of her father was a good one. He never once lost his temper with her or her sisters. And despite having done so on numerous occasions with her mother, she knew their marriage was an abusive one, but her mother never talked about it. To discuss it would have meant she was talking ill of their father, and that's something she never once did. She wanted the relationship she had with him to be free of any strain that stood between the two of them. Because of this, she have the utmost respect for parents who don't involve their children in the dissolution of their relationship. I just wanted to touch on that part where by you see that most marriages are tearing apart and partners want to leave, and they are using the kids to emotionally blackmail usually the victim. The perpetrator of the crime is usually using the kids to blackmail the victim. So let's say in an abusive marriage, the man is the perpetrator and a woman is the victim. You somehow see that because the woman wants to leave, the man keeps threatening that she will not have folk, she will not be able to see the kids, they have to go to court, custody matters, and all that. And it leaves the woman in a state of confusion where she wants to have her kids, she wants to have access to her kids, and but she also wants to be free of the abusive marriage. So what does she do? Sometimes people would weigh that they did stick with the abusive marriage because I mean if they've been able to stick for 5 years, how long is another 5 years? And I just wanted to urge that for the sake of your life, because you don't know when the person would pick a gun and shoot you. Yeah, I guess to some extreme stage where it becomes unbearable for you. Not just your mental health, yeah, but also your life is as important. Now, she asked her father about the abuse once, and he was very candid about their relationship. He was an alcoholic during the years he was married to her mother, and he was the first to admit he didn't treat her well. And in fact, he told her he had two knuckles replaced in his hand because he had hit her so hard and they broke against her skull. And her father regretted the way he treated the mother his entire life. Mistreating her was the worst mistake he had ever made, and he said he would grow old and die still madly in love with her. And she says, I feel that was a very light punishment for what she endured. When I decided I wanted to write the author now, when she decided she wanted to write this story, she first asked her mother for permission, and she told her she wanted to write it for women like her. And she also wanted to write it for all the people who didn't quite understand women like her. And she was one of those people. The mother I know is not weak. She was not someone I could envision forgiving a man for mistreating her on multiple occasions. But while she's writing this book and getting into the mindset of Lily, the character in the book, she quickly realized that it's not as black and white as it seems from the outside. On more than one occasion while writing this, she wanted to change the plot line, and she didn't. She didn't want Ryle to be who he was going to be because she had fallen in love with him in those first several chapters, just as Lily had fallen in love with him, just as her mother fell in love with her father. And when you're reading the book, you would come to see that Ryle is actually a nice guy. He's good. He's almost every woman's dream man. But the fact that he has anger issues, he has lots of jealousy in him. And I think that Riot is a victim himself, but that doesn't mean that he should keep lashing out and getting it out on Lily, because this what happened to Ryo when he was young. When Ryo was young, he accidentally shot his brother, and he lost his brother, and it has been hunting him since. He has tried seeking counseling, and still, it's still something he has to live with for the entirety of his life. Now it affects every relationship he gets into. In fact, when he met Lady, he had told her that he didn't want to get um into a committed relationship, one that he has to eventually settle down with the person. He had only done um one night stands because he felt like that was safe for him and the partner, even though he didn't really tell the story about his brother to Lily. It was after some time when Alisa advised that he made um Lily known about it. And yeah, I think that sometimes perpetrators are victims, but it's not an excuse still for them to keep victimizing people. So you do not say that your love would change him, because it wouldn't. No matter how much you love the person, once the person still has demons to deal with, I think that's something they need to work on themselves. When Lily divorced Ryo, and Ryo kept having some hopes because they have a child together, and he kept bringing it up. And at some point, Lily felt threatened about it and all that, and she had to ask him to go for anger management and stuff. You could, I think that you should leave the marriage when, or the relationship or situationship you are in, which is abusive, when you're still in, when you still have yourself. Because when you lose yourself, there's no way you would be able to help the other person. You would lose focus, and especially focus for yourself all the time. Your energy and your attention is going to be on your the perpetrator, because you're hoping that they become better. You're hoping that one day it all ends. But trust me, in doing so, you're going to always be tiptoeing. You don't know what's next, whether truly they will change for good or not. And well, that's some time wasting. Understand that some of us have hope. Unlike me, I do not have. I do not hold on for to hope for too long. I could be hopeful about something to like 70%, and then the rest of the 30%, when I just start seeing signs of things not progressing, I'll give up. So maybe you're worried that your child, if you're in a relationship and or a marriage and you're worried that your child will grow up in a single home, or you'll be a single parent and all that. Well, it's kind of understandable, but how would you feel that your child grows up in sadness every time they have to hear you fighting with their father? I don't think it's nice, yeah. And for children that had to go through such, it haunts them as well. It, unless they eventually find somebody that comes to fill that gap in their life. And the um on the part of Lily, she had her teenage lover who came through for her, and that's the love she had to survive in. But if she was, if Atlas was nowhere near the picture, I don't know what would have happened to her. But yeah, Colleen Hover says that the first incident between Ryle and Lily in the kitchen. So there was an incident that happened between Ryle and Lily in the kitchen, and she said it's what happened the first time when her father ever hit her mother, and she was cooking a casserole and she had been drinking, and he had been drinking rather. He pulled the casserole out of the oven without using a pot holder, and she thought it was funny and she laughed. The next thing she knew, he had hit her so hard she flew across the kitchen floor. Yeah, this is something that happened in real life to somebody. So she chose to forgive him for that one incident because his apology and regrets were believable, or at least believable enough that giving him a second chance hurt less than leaving with a broken heart would have. You know, when you're leaving somebody, it really hurts so badly. So yeah, I could imagine. Now, over time, the incidents that followed were similar to the first. Her father would repeatedly show remorse and promise to not never do it again. It finally got to a point where she knew his promises were empty. But she was a mother of two daughters by then and had no money to leave. And unlike Lily, so Lily has a flower shop, and even before then, she had worked as a bank something something. Or if I don't remember very well, but she had a 9 to 5 job. So unlike Lily, her mother didn't have a lot of support, and there were no local women shelters as at then. There was very little government support back then, and to leave meant risking not having a roof over their heads. But to her, it was better than the alternative. Living is the safest option for you, your kids, and saves your partner from ever going to jail. At least he still has his life, and he can work on himself. So she said and her father passed away several years ago when she was 25 years old. He wasn't the best father. He certainly wasn't the best husband. But thanks to her mother, she was able to have a very close relationship with him because she took the necessary steps to break the pattern before it broke us. And I think that's how she ended the story about Lily and Rayo. When Lily didn't make any decision about she and Ryo until when she had their baby, and it was at the hospital. Actually, it was Ryo that took her to the hospital. So when she gave birth and she saw how Ryo was excited about the baby, she imagined living with Ryo and their child growing up to see the worst parts of Ryo. He being losing his temper and beating her up. So she decided there and then that she wanted a divorce, and even though Ryle made promises that he was going to change, she couldn't have risked it because she's seen him, what he was capable of, and she was scared for herself, and she just wanted what's best for herself, her child. And she says that she was the pattern of abuse because her mother had gone through abuse, right? And she now going through it, and her child seeing it also wasn't right. So for her, she felt like breaking the pattern before it breaks you was something she was ready to bet on. So she left Ryle, she divorced Ryle, and they were co-parenting their child. It's not easy. It wasn't easy. You'd see in it starts with us, where Lily reconnects with her teenage lover at last, and how they were able to navigate through it. But I'm happy, honestly. I'm happy for her that she left that marriage, because if she didn't, I don't know what would have happened. And then she says it wasn't easy. She left him right before she turned 3, and her sister then turned 5, and they lived off beans and macaroni and cheese for 2 solid years. She was a single mother without a college education, raising 2 daughters on her own with virtually no help. But her love for her kids gave her the strength she needed to take that terrifying step. And by no means does she intend to for Ryan and Lily's situation to define domestic abuse, nor does she intend for Ryan's character to define the characteristics of most abusers. Every situation is different, she says. Every outcome is different, and she chose to fashion Lily and Ryan's story after her mother and father's. I fashioned Ryo after my father in many ways, and they are handsome, compassionate, funny, and smart, but with moments of unforgivable behavior. I told you that Ryo is every woman's dream: handsome, compassionate, funny, and smart. But well, the weakness, which is there were so many of them. There were countless times. So I think in Lily's situation, it was 3 times. The third time where Ryo attempted to even rape her, that was when she had bruises on her face, and she went to hospital with the help of Atlas to get some stitches, and through that she got pregnant. And oh, that was just a breaking point for her, and she just thought that leaving Ryo was the best. And honestly, leaving Ryo was the best for her. I don't imagine a better life for her with Ryo ever. And yeah, she says she fashioned Lily after her mother in many ways, and they were both caring, intelligent, strong women who simply fell in love with men who didn't deserve to fall in love at all. 2 years after divorcing her father, her mother met her stepfather. He was the epitome of a good husband. The memories she has of them growing up set the bar for the type of marriage she wanted myself. And trust me, especially when you have female kids, you have girls, you should be worried that they are staying, you're going to still stay back in an abusive marriage, because what they, as early as 2 years and a half, Colleen Hover was able to see the happenings. How that a 2 year old remembers her dad throwing the television at her mom. Yeah, just take a minute to absorb that. Let it go through you, or go through it, whichever way. But I just want you to see that kids are not just kids, and whatever that is happening to them, they're able to make meaning of it, and it impacts their life. So once you decide to stay in that marriage or that abusive relationship or situationship, know that, and there are kids involved, know that you are telling them that this is the standards of men, this is how all men behave, and they grow up unconsciously seek that from other men. They tend to look for men that are emotionally unavailable, men that gaslight them, are love bombing them, manipulating them, and all sorts of emotional abuse and sometimes physical abuse you can never think of. So her mother marrying her stepfather actually changed everything. And when she finally did reach the point of marriage, the hardest thing ever she had to do was to tell her biological father that he wouldn't be walking her on the aisle. Yeah, that's what she did. and, she, and she was going to ask her stepfather, not even her uncle, her stepfather. I don't know if she had an uncle. She never mentioned that, but she asked her stepfather. And for her, it felt she felt she had to do this for many reasons. Her stepfather stepped up as a husband in ways her father never did, and her stepfather stepped up financially in ways her father never did. Her stepfather raised them as if they were his own, while never once denying them a relationship with their biological father. And she remembers sitting down in her father's living room a month before her wedding, and she told him she loved him, but that she was going to be asking her stepfather to walk her down the aisle. She was prepared for his response with every rebuttal she could think of, but the response he gave her was nothing she expected. He nodded his head and said, Colin, he raised you. He deserves to give you away at your wedding, and you shouldn't feel guilty about it because it's the right thing to do. And she knew her decision absolutely gutted her father, but he was selfless enough as a father to not only respect her decision, but he wanted her to respect it too. And well, her father sat in the audience at her wedding and watched another man walk me down the aisle. And for me, that was like a boundary or something, like making the world know that I love you as a father, but nah, you did stuff that I wasn't pleased with as a child growing up, and if my husband you're going to walk me down the aisle, it actually would define what sort of relationship I'm going to have with my partner. And yeah, I think that some sort of respect would come from her partner, knowing that no, some things would be a no for her. hmm So, yeah, she knew people were wondering why she didn't just have both of them walk her down the aisle, but looking back on it, she realized she made a choice out of respect for her mother. She said she chose to walk, who she chose to walk her down the aisle wasn't really about her father. It wasn't even really about her stepfather. It was about her mother. She wanted the man who treated her how she deserved to be treat, to be treated, to be given the honor of giving her away her daughter. And at last, she always said she wrote for entertainment purposes only, but she she writes to uh she didn't write to educate, persuade, or inform. But this book is different. This was not entertainment for her. It was the most grueling thing she had ever written. At times, she wanted to hit the delete button and take back the way Raya had treated Lily, and she wanted to rewrite the scenes where she forgave him and wanted to replace those scenes with a more resilient woman, a character who made all the right decisions at all the right times. But those weren't the characters she was writing. And honestly, when I read the book, I, it broke my heart to know that Ryo was not the man for Lily. Ryo loved Lily, or she loves she loves Lily, but he doesn't love her in a way a man should love and cherish a woman. A man should never reach the point of anger whereby he has to physically abuse you or even emotionally abuse you. His words should be kind, and yeah, you should always have to should be able to sit with the person you love to have a conversation, not always arguing and being enraged and all that. So I can imagine how it was for her writing the story, but that wasn't the story she wanted to tell. She wanted to write something realistic to the situation her mother was in, and I think that's why I want to talk about this in this episode of the Sweet Black Girl podcast that you shouldn't be ashamed of telling your stories. It hurts. It's shameful. Yeah, shameful that you had gone through such a thing, but it's also empowering when you tell your story as it is. Don't hide behind shame and endure this pain alone. In healing, you need others, and it's only in sharing your story that you get the type of help that you would deserve. And yeah, I am really proud of Colleen Hover's mom, and I'm proud of Colleen Hover for sharing her story. I'm also proud of all the women and even girls that have had to go through abuse, but have had the courage to speak up about it. And as we commemorate the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, I'd like to encourage that we say no to any form of violence, emotional, physical, whatsoever. The scars of abuse that you see on the skin are not as lasting as the ones that you do not see. The ones in the hearts, the minds, and the souls of the victims. And we should try as much as possible to be kind. That's our victims who are our friends, beloved and honored by our words and how we react when we are with them, when we are around them. Yeah, that's that's really what I want to say. And yeah, if also you've been abusing people, just maybe try and seek help. Yeah, because I understand that you might also be a victim just like Ryo, but you can't go about being proud of being a victim. Seek help. There's help out there. There are people that are ready to listen to you and help, mm, make it work with you. If you have to go for therapy, go for anger management, sit in the group conversations and let things out. Please do. Heal. Let go. Because it's only in letting go that you find the peace